Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. Let's get started. There's a bunch of good college football games on this weekend. Like, there's some that even left off this list. That's how many good games there are. Especially, there's a lot of ranked versus ranked matchups. There's actually six of them, which is very rare. I mean, there's one point we have five this season, but I just love those ranked versus ranked matchups. So, a bunch of good games. Let's get started. At number 10, I have Arkansas versus BYU. 3:30 ESPN game. Arkansas is favored by 1.5 on the road there. This is a pivotal game for both teams here. While the New Year's Six bowl dreams are over now for BYU after losing Notre Dame last week, if they can run the table, finish in the top 25, win at least 10 games or more, then that's a good enough, still considered a successful season, especially with the veteran roster that BYU has. And now for Arkansas, I coming into the season like, okay, they're contending to be second best in the SC West behind Alabama, but right now, with the way Arkansas is playing, they're just trying to at least make a bowl game at this point. The Razorbacks in this game will clearly love to run the ball. Like after the military academies, they're the next team that runs the ball the most. So they're going to run the ball, especially with Cougars' rush defense not being that great. They're definitely going to try to take advantage of that. Especially with Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson's back, from missing a game last week. Now for BYU, Arkansas's pass defense is not great at all. So that's the chance for star quarterback for BYU, Jaren Hall, and all the different good receivers that they have. It's their chance to kind of get back into a rhythm and be more explosive on offense, unlike last week where it took them a while to get going. They got to be able to take advantage of that pass defense if BYU was to win this game because they're not going to do a great job of stopping the run per se. Now this is one of those toss-up games. It's just hard to predict. But I think what we saw against Baylor, with how the home crowd of BYU and the elevation of BYU is a factor here, especially for Arkansas not being used to elevation and all that. I do feel like that will make it to where BYU can barely squeak out a win. You have them winning 35-34. Next, you got for Clemson versus Florida State, the primetime game on ABC. With the way these two teams have been playing recently, you think this can turn into a blowout. And while it technically can, I think it'll be a closer game than what the experts think. I know the line says 4, so they're kind of thinking what I'm thinking, but a lot of other people may say, oh, Clemson by double digits. Was like, I'm not going to go that far. For starters, Clemson has shown that this year they play way better at home than they do on the road, because as you saw against Wake Forest, not good. So I feel like with this being at Florida State, Clemson not able to play as strong and crisp as they do at home with the crowd behind them. And second is Florida State kept this game close against them last year, and that was when Florida State's team wasn't as good last year as they are this year. So I do feel like Florida State will make it close, and it won't be easy for Clemson, but in the end, Clemson will survive and win, had them winning 26-20. Next, you got Minnesota versus 24 Illinois. New game on Big Ten Network. Illinois is ranked for the first time in a long time. Illinois fans are obviously riding high about this right now. I think they're going to fall out of the top 25 after this week. Minnesota is a really good team, and their one loss came when their star running back Mohamed Ibrahim did not play, and he's going to be back for this game. And then on the Illinois side, apparently the quarterback Tommy DeVito has a bad ankle and is questionable to even play. I mean, I assume he'll play because it's a big game, but he may not be. He will be exposed, not 100% and all that. So I feel like that's definitely a chance for Minnesota to take advantage there just by being on the road. I feel like Minnesota will get the win here in a low-scoring game. I have them winning 14-13. 7, you got LSU versus Florida, 7 p.m. game ESPN. Florida's favored by 3 here. This game has provided us with some fun shootouts in recent memory. I don't expect that to be the case this time, though. I expect it to be more of a lower scoring game. If you look at common opponents, since Florida barely lost to Tennessee on the road and LSU got blown out by Tennessee at home, that if you believe in correlation there, you could think that, well, that means Florida should win this game easily, especially now that they're at home. And I do think Florida wins this game, but I do think it'll be closer to what the experts may think here, because after LSU just getting embarrassed by Tennessee, they're going to come out like with more sense of passion, all that urgency, and determine, hey, we're not going to roll over. We're going to fight and compete, and we're not going to look as bad as we did last week. So again, Florida winning here, after winning 24-20. 6, here's where you get to the ranked versus ranked matchups. You got 7 USC versus 20 Utah, 8 p.m. Fox game. USC didn't fall for the trap last week against Washington, and they took care of business against Washington State. Utah did fall into a trap, and it cost them a win. Well, what's interesting here is that while the Utes for sure are now out of the playoff picture, if they can still win the Pac-12 championship game, they can still go to the Rose Bowl. So those type of goals are still, ahead of them. So it's not like Utah is just going to roll over and quit on the season now. Um, and if Utah wins this game, like I said, they can still make the Pac-12 championship game despite already having one conference loss. But despite it being a home game, my question is: does Utah kind of come out flat, or do they come with a strong punch against USC after being embarrassed last week, especially on defense? I think the USC offense should operate just fine since Utah's defense has been very inconsistent against good teams this year. However, I do expect the USC's defense to finally get exposed here, and I think the Utes at home will outscore the Trojans to get the big win here and get the upside of them winning 34-31. So Utah's actually favored by 3.5, so it's actually right on. 5, you got 16 Mississippi State versus 22 Kentucky, 7:30 game on SEC Network. The Bulldogs are on fire right now in offense since their loss to LSU 3 weeks ago. Kentucky has the defense that can contain the big plays the Bulldogs heavily rely on. The question mark comes with Kentucky's offense. Star quarterback Will Levis had to miss last week with a turf toe injury, and that definitely cost the Wildcats there in that game against South Carolina. That specific type of injury is not a quick injury to come back from. It definitely takes time to heal. Therefore, it wouldn't shock me at all if he misses this game, which would result in an automatic win for Mike Leach in Mississippi State. Even though his plays, though, he's clearly going to be limited to 100%. I feel like Mississippi State could take advantage of that. So despite being on the road here, I have Mississippi State winning 27-13. 4, you got 15 NC State versus 18 Syracuse. 3-game SEC Network. The Wolfpack survived scare against Florida State last week and are back sort of on a track after to competing for second place in the division after the tough loss to Clemson. I don't know what to make of Syracuse in all honesty. Their only good win so far is against Purdue. This is their first big test, and I feel like they have a pretty good chance to pass it. Syracuse offense coordinator Robert Nye has really brought this offense to life, and I think he will scheme his way to be successful here. Also, North Carolina State quarterback David Leary has a bad shoulder and is questionable to play in this game. So either he will play and won't be 100%, or he won't play at all. So either or, I'm definitely taking the orange here to upset the Wolfpack. I have Syracuse winning 24-13. 3, you got 8 Oklahoma State versus 13 TCU through 3-game ABC. Winner of this game is the last undefeated team left in the Big 12. This could be a preview of the Big 12 title game potentially. The winner definitely has the inside track for sure. TCU's offense has been on a roll, and Oklahoma State's defense could be suspect at times, which is a good combination area for a TCU fan. Sometimes in a game, Oklahoma State may look like the best defense in the Big 12 as you saw against Baylor, but then other times they'll allow 20 plus points in one quarter like they did last week. What I do like again about the Oklahoma State and the Cowboys going to the games that they already had a tough road test against Baylor and easily passed that. So I don't think the home crowd of TCU should should rattle Oklahoma State per se. However, one thing I noticed is Oklahoma State has struggled with running quarterbacks, and Max Duggan for TCU is definitely a good mobile quarterback. Therefore, I don't think they'll be able to fully contain him, and I think that ends up being the difference of the game here. Now, if TCU getting the win here, 38-37. 2, you got 3 Alabama versus 6 Tennessee. 3 game of CBS. Besides Georgia, this Tennessee is one team I think can realistically upset the Crimson Tide. They have the powerful offense to do so, especially if their star wide receiver Cedric Tillman comes back from injury. He's been out the past few games. Now Alabama, assuming quarterback Bryce Young plays, should have no issues on offense since Tennessee's defense can be had in the secondary specifically. I think the home crowd and the stellar play of quarterback Hendon Hooker will make this a competitive game. But in the end, Alabama, like what happened kind of in Austin, Texas, early in the season, will just find a way to escape with a win here. They're winning 38-33. So I would not say Alabama covers 7.5 here. Last but not least, number 1, you have 10 Penn State versus 5 Michigan. Michigan's favored by 7 here. A new Fox game. The winner goes on to challenge Ohio State for the division title, obviously. Michigan against Big Ten opponents have needed kind of a strong second half to escape. So that part I don't necessarily like, especially since Michigan was more dominant last year. And as far as Penn State goes, they needed a solid second half against Purdue, and they kind of didn't play well against Northwestern. So I'm not sure what to kind of make the Penn State demolish Auburn, but Auburn's not going to make a bowl game this year. So I'm not kind of sure what to make of them either. I believe Michigan, while they're a good run team, and while Penn State is a good run team, I don't feel like either team can just rely on the run game in this game and expect to win. I feel like it will come down to the quarterbacks here, and um, I think JJ McCarthy from Michigan will avoid making those costly mistakes, and he'll get the jump done, especially at home. So Michigan squeaks out the win here, at them winning 24-20. So those are my top 10 games of the week. I have Michigan beating Penn State, Alabama beating Tennessee, TCU beating Oklahoma State, Syracuse beating North Carolina State, Mississippi State beating Kentucky, Utah beating USC, Florida beating LSU, Minnesota beating Illinois, Clemson beating Florida State, and BYU beating Arkansas. Now also, um, I have updated my bowl projections, which by the way, again, if you want to read in-depth analysis of why um, I why I picked my top 10 picks and also my bowl projections. You can go on my LinkedIn page down Durrett. But just kind of a quick recap here of my updated bowl projections. So they've obviously changed. I thought NC State was going to upset Clemson a few weeks ago, so like stuff like that has changed. I thought USC was going to win in Pac-12. Now I'm still not sure. Stuff like that. So things have changed to where instead of Georgia winning the SEC, I have Alabama win the SEC. So I have Alabama won, Ohio State wins the Big Ten still, so they're number two. I have Clemson winning the ACC now, and now I win the ACC. I actually have them going undefeated, unlike what I thought earlier. So I have them being the 3 seed in it. I have Georgia as the last team in, and a rematch with Alabama there as the one-loss team. Now I do have Michigan as the 11-1 loss team as well. That's still the same, but I do think Georgia's resume is better than Michigan's resume, especially not conference-wise, because they have the dominant win game against Oregon, so that's going to be the difference there. And then I have switched. So instead of USC winning the Pac-12 conference, I actually have Oregon winning that one, the Pac-12 conference. I just liked what I've been seeing from them, so I have them kind of like a 6. Um, and then I have Oklahoma State win the Big 12 at 11-2, 7. Tennessee 10-2, 8. UCLA I have the Pac-12 runner-ups at 9. And Ole Miss at 10. So those are kind of like the top 10 teams there. I have changed my mind and I had James Madison. And for the Sun Belt, their first year being FBS, I have them being the G5 representative actually, instead of Cincinnati, because I do feel like Cincinnati will lose one more time, and James Madison can arguably go undefeated against their easy schedule. Um, so again, to look at the whole bowl projections there, you just have to go on my LinkedIn page down right. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today, and y'all have a wonderful day.